He caught the passes, you give him credit for that. But when you talk about a true bona fide one, Skip, it's those situations where game's on the line, everything, hey, we need one in the red zone, we're putting it up to this guy.
Now, Richard, I know you may be busy screaming at people on their Ring doorbell, but CeeDee has in fact done this.
Hey, everybody in the stadium, nobody in the stadium knows where the ball is going in the Dallas Cowboys offense. You don't.
Come through. Come through.
No. I'm saying exactly what I said, Irv. I'm not gonna put him in a conversation with a true number one.
Wait, are you saying he's not number one?
The true number ones in this National Football League, they look like Jamar Chase, they look like Justin Jefferson. Those are true number ones. It's a reason they're number ones. It's what reason when you start the week, you say, hey, how are we gonna stop Irv? How are we going to stop this guy? On third down, we're going to double him. We're going to bracket him.
You're not talking about his ability. You're talking about his opportunities. No. You're saying that he's not getting the opportunities. That's why he's not a number one. But his ability is he has the ability to be a number one. Is that what you're telling me? Because I'm telling you they're giving him the opportunities now. I will agree if you're going more at the system in the play caller, but I'm not going to agree if you're going at 88.
I'm saying when I see them start to double him and start to bracket him and start to really game plan to stop him, then I will consider him the number one, true number one like the rest of these guys.
Come through. Come through. Come through.
All right, here we go. It's time to get into Richard Sherman and his claims that CeeDee Lamb is not a number one receiver in the National Football League. He put receivers like Terry McLaurin from the Washington Commanders over CeeDee Lamb, but you know how we get down on this channel. We're not just going to give my opinion and my think piece on why I believe CeeDee Lamb is actually a number one wide receiver, but we're going to get into the facts first, then we're going to shred Mr. Sherman apart. So what the facts tell you is, for one, follow me on Twitter at Dak Attack Show. For two, let's go ahead and take a look at Pro Football Reference first. And I got about 3 or 4 different websites we're looking at here to compile all these different numbers to make this point I'm about to prove to you, right? So the reason I want to take a look at this particular site is because it gives you advanced receiving and rushing metrics. And some of these metrics are actually very, very useful. But for the sake of the argument of CeeDee Lamb being a true number one receiver, I think the most important statistic is how reliable is that receiver. If you throw that receiver the ball, are they going to catch it? Are they going to get you first downs? Are they going to keep the chains moving? Are they reliable in situations where you need your number one to be reliable in? Well, let's take a look at the numbers. The numbers say astoundingly, yes. This right here is probably the most important number. How many drops has CeeDee Lamb had so far through this year through 7 games played? 0. 0 drops, which leads to a 0.0% in drop percentage. That is exactly what you would want from a number one receiver. If you throw them the ball, if you throw it in their direction, if they get their hands on it and it's a catchable pass, he's bringing it in. That's exactly what you want to see from a number one receiver. So 1 point for Cowboys Nation, 0 for Richard Sherman. Oh, and I wanted to be one of the first people to point this out because this was honestly a big point of emphasis for even the Cowboys fans. And one of the big criticisms that we have for CeeDee is that he did have a drop issue in some of his recent years. He had 8 and 9 drops in some of his years. And this year, 0, bro. And I don't think anybody has given that dude credit for the fact that he has 0 drops so far this year. Then we take a look at the quarterback rating when throwing to their receiver. Another aspect of a number one receiver is a guy that is capable of making big plays and making a big impact on the field. And the only way you're going to see this type of quarterback rating for a receiver when he's being targeted, which is 131.6. Just to put this in perspective, that means if Dak Prescott was to target CeeDee Lamb every single play in every single game, he would be putting up a quarterback rating that would probably be the number one quarterback rating in all of NFL history, just based off of targeting CeeDee Lamb. Now, obviously, things would change a little bit. Double teams would change, coverages would change, all that kind of stuff. But you get the point. That's the point I'm making, is this is such an extremely high quarterback rating that you cannot look at this in any fashion and be like, oh, throwing at CeeDee Lamb is a bad idea, or they should throw less at CeeDee Lamb. In fact, what this tells you is they need to throw at CeeDee Lamb a lot more, actually. Then we come and take a look at his career stats to give you guys a clearer picture here. CeeDee Lamb has had 1,000 yards receiving every year except for his rookie season, which is the season that Amari Cooper was here. So he's really playing second fiddle to Amari Cooper. And even then, he still almost had 1,000 yards receiving with 74 receptions on 111 targets, 935 receiving yards, 5 receiving touchdowns, and then you can see he has some rushing yards and stuff like that mixed in as well. But then every season after that, CeeDee Lamb has gotten progressively better. And this season, he's trending to do even better than he did last season. And remember, last season they did add that extra game in, so that's why his stats look a little bit skewed from between 2021 and 2022. But 2023, he's trending to have a better season than he did in 2022, in which he almost put up 1,400 receiving yards, and he caught 107 receptions last year. What is it that qualifies someone as being a number one wide receiver? He caught 100 balls last year, 9 touchdowns, almost 1,400 receiving yards, and that was averaging pretty much 80 yards per game last year, and this year he's averaging almost 90 yards per game. So this argument for Richard Sherman looks even worse now because CeeDee Lamb is actually statistically in the middle of what's going to be his best season as a Dallas Cowboy, and we're arguing whether or not this dude is a true number one wide receiver, which makes absolutely no sense. And this is based off of the facts. And he's made the Pro Bowl 2 times in 3 seasons. And this is his 4th season right here. And you can assume CeeDee's probably going to be on that Pro Bowl roster for the NFC.
And see, this is why people are not surprised that Undisputed has fallen the way that it has. Now, instead of educated analysts coming on these shows and having debates about sports and who's good and who isn't and who's better, now you have these old, disgruntled former NFL players coming on these shows with access to grind and allegiances to pledge to, and they're sticking to these terrible narratives that they're trying to build when the numbers just show it ain't the truth. People don't want to watch this crap no more, man. Y'all almost have as many average viewers as I have people watching my videos, and I'm nobody. That's really sad and indicative of the product that y'all are putting out right now. Yes, I just insulted myself.
Okay, I'm sorry, Richard. We're just looking at individual numbers. Let's look at how CeeDee actually stacks up to the rest of the league. What is he doing better than other guys in the league? Because for you to be a true number one, you have to be doing something better than pretty much most of the other players at your position, right? Well, let's take a look at that. If we take a look at, and this is ESPN now, and if we take a look at the NFL's receiving leaders for the season so far, CeeDee Lamb is actually ranked number 8 on this list with receiving yards. And remember, this is a guy that was just having to complain about getting the ball more. He's still ranking in the top 10 in receiving yards in the NFL this year.
And CeeDee had a bye week.
For instance, someone like Keenan Allen and Jamar Chase, they have respectively 8 and 14 more receptions than CeeDee Lamb and only 10 and 23 more yards respectively than CeeDee Lamb. So he's being more productive than some of the guys that you guys have actually named, like a Jamar Chase, like a Keenan Allen, like a Terry McLaurin, who is nowhere on this list. But Richard Sherman thought it was a good idea to shoehorn him ahead of CeeDee Lamb in the wide receiver rankings. So just based off of looking at this, he's a top 10 receiver at minimum. Oh, and we talked about receivers being better at something than other guys at their position, right? CeeDee Lamb is just the 4th receiver with multiple receptions on 5 different routes. Over the last 2 seasons, Tyreek Hill has done it twice. He also recorded plus 3.3 receptions over expected, the 4th most in a game this season, which means he is absolute money if you throw that ball his way. And that also means he's one of the few receivers in the league that is extremely versatile in his ability to excel within those different route combinations. Not only is this one of the most damning pieces of evidence that CeeDee Lamb is one of the best receivers in the NFL, but this 100% shows you that he has every single tool that's needed to be considered a number one wide receiver. Any dude that you can put out there and tell him run pretty much anything and he's going to get open, he's going to catch that ball, and he's going to make a difference is damn sure a number one receiver, Richard Sherman. Any dude who's leading the entire NFL, tied with Wan'Dale Robinson of the New York Giants, but any dude who's leading the entire NFL in catch percentage, which means anytime that ball gets thrown in his direction, he is more likely to come up with that ball than any other receiver in the National Football League at 82.14. He has an 82.14 catch percentage. That is only behind some of the tight ends in the league, like a Dalton Kincaid or Evan Ingram, Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett from the Chargers. Those are the only dudes with a higher catch percentage. And guess what? Tight ends are supposed to have massive catch percentages because they're huge targets and they're able to wall off defenders from their body. Usually they're not all the way down the field. They're right there and they're used as a safety blanket. So you'll see tight ends with a high catch percentage. CeeDee Lamb is an outside receiver with an unbelievably high catch percentage and a very high usage rate. If you look at this actual list right here, CeeDee Lamb is at the top. You don't see any of these other top dudes that were named anywhere near where CeeDee Lamb is ranked on this particular part of the list. For instance, A.J. Brown, someone that everybody feels like is an automatic catch machine, 72.29 catch percentage. Again, CeeDee Lamb is catching the ball at a 10% higher clip than A.J. Brown is. So you see, there really is no argument as to whether or not CeeDee Lamb is a true number one wide receiver. The numbers show it. He's proven it over the course of his career, and he's doing nothing but getting better. This guy is still in his first contract in the NFL, and the claims that he isn't double teamed or he doesn't attract more attention than the other receivers on the field are absolutely false. After Tony Pollard went out in the playoff game against the San Francisco 49ers last year, that's all they had to do. They literally had CeeDee Lamb bracketed the rest of the game. So teams were 100% game planning to take CeeDee Lamb out of the game. And you can't tell any Cowboy fan, any person that's been analyzing the game, any person that studies the film, you can't tell anybody that, because it's very clear that even if CeeDee seems like he's on one side of the field by himself, the safeties are going to be leaning to help his way. So stop it, stop it, stop it. Stop trying to force these narratives. Just give the Cowboys their flowers and then go on and talk about other teams. There are 32 NFL teams in the league. Give the Cowboys their flowers, Richard Sherman. You don't have to sit here and try to pluck at straws to try to get you a hot take out the thin air. This is not the right person to be picking on. And I'm glad Playmaker stopped doing your tracks and let you know that, hey, that slander is not going to be had here. CeeDee Lamb is damn sure a true number one receiver, so don't come at 88 like that, all right? CeeDee is that dude. I am 100% ready to see what the Dallas Cowboys are going to do against the Philadelphia Eagles in this upcoming week, because I truly believe we're going to see yet another coming out party for CeeDee Lamb. I think we're just seeing the start of CeeDee Lamb really going into a different phase. He was already a tier 1 receiver, because you can't convince me that Terry McLaurin is better than him. He was already a tier 1 receiver, but now I think we're about to really see him elevate himself into that top 3 range, which is honestly what a lot of those stats show you he already is trending towards, especially since he's getting targeted a lot less than some of those other guys that are pictured at the top of those lists. But either way, appreciate you guys tuning in. Y'all know how we always end these videos. How about them Cowboys? See you guys on the next one.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Hey! I'm still them boys.